Well, friends, building and growing a SaaS business is for me actually like trekking in the upper regions of the Himalayas. I remember a Himalayan trek that I went for during my days in business school, and this was a 10-day trek, and there were about 10 of us in the group, and we had all kinds of challenges, every day. And I actually remember how we took about 4 hours to actually cross a fast-flowing river. This was waist deep, and it was freezing temperatures. And that was one day. And the very next night, we were actually stuck in a cave all night. With a blizzard, beating down us. I actually sort of wonder, how we actually survived that trip. But the stories that we had after the trek remained truly memorable. And that experience, clearly took us to the next level of our own resilience. Well, startup founders and SaaS founders are, on a path which is, full of setbacks, challenges, and potential roadblocks. The struggle is, almost always there. But it's actually the way that you see those setbacks and build from there, which is, and that's really completely up to you, which could be the very thing that helps you succeed. Well, today we're not here to talk about theoretical concepts around resilience, but we'll have an actual discussion with someone who is on that journey. So let me welcome Ravi Chamria, CEO and co-founder Zeev. Zeev is a SaaS startup in the blockchain space. Ravi, great to have you today.
Yep, thanks, Thomas.
And friends, today we are streaming live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Well, my name is Thomas Abraham. I work with SaaS startups, helping them with their growth strategy, go-to-market, and global expansion. And let me now get Ravi into the conversation. Ravi, tell us your journey about as a blockchain entrepreneur, and what actual customer problems are you solving with Zeev?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and good morning to people who are from other time zones. So the whole blockchain journey, I would say, is a roller coaster ride. So it started slow. So blockchain being new and pretty much unknown to most of the customers. So when I started the journey, I think the first few years were literally spent on evangelizing blockchain, building some POCs, proving to the customer or validating concepts. There were hardly any monetizing opportunities. So it was overall net investment that we were doing. But we tried to play it smart there. We ended up building a very good team during this time. Team which is very seasoned, has experience of more than 3 to 4 years in blockchain. But yeah, from a monetization perspective, it was pretty tough. So we ended up, imparting a lot of knowledge about blockchain, which is now helping us to convert those customers. But yeah, it has been a tough journey to start with. But now things have started picking up. So it was exhausting earlier, but now exhilarating. So the way I would put it.
Yeah, so tell us, Ravi, you did some pivots, and now finally you are with Zeev. So tell us a little bit about Zeev and what exactly are you solving for with Zeev?
Yeah, so I would say not exactly a pivot. It was a natural progression. So we were working with a lot of enterprises. We worked with almost 30 plus enterprises in India, US, Middle East. And while working with various enterprises, implementing some of our own products, and as well as doing some large consulting engagements, we realized that infrastructure play is still very difficult. Even if you build a blockchain application, deploying that on a blockchain network, managing compliance, etc., when you are dealing with banks or financial institutions or healthcare organizations, it's a nightmare. It takes a huge amount of time. It's error prone, and at times you fail while you are giving a demo to the customer. So we realized that whole infrastructure, the kind of DevOps requirement which is required in the decentralized world, is entirely different from what is there in the centralized world. So the same sets of skills or expertise or tool sets cannot be just taken over to the Web3 world. And that's where we saw the opportunity. And that's where we conceptualized Eve as a infrastructure automation platform for blockchain space or decentralized space.
And who is really your target audience, Ravi, for this particular proposition from Zeev?
Yeah, so broadly speaking, pretty much anybody who is building blockchain application or implementing one, whether it be system integrators or consulting companies, whether it be enterprises who are building applications or building consortiums, like, we have a lot of consortium as our customers, or it may be a blockchain startup who is building, one product, one network, and onboarding different customers on top of it.
Right. Okay. So Ravi, you did allude to the fact that you did a lot of evangelizing, and I remember having this conversation with you 3 years ago, and the question really was, are we ahead of our times? And I personally recollect several, proof of concepts that you did for enterprises, consulting firms, and everyone was curious. Everyone wanted knowledge. And you did invest a lot of time, and it's great that a lot of that is actually paying back today. And then, of course, we also had COVID in early 2020, and that was a time when a lot of digital transformation started to happen, right? And typically, a lot of enterprises and organizations were looking at changing business models, transforming their businesses, and automating some of those core areas that they were focused on. For instance, one of the areas that really took off was entire area of adoption of the cloud, right? So a lot of companies moved on to the cloud.
Right.
But blockchain adoption, and I may be mistaken to some extent, but blockchain adoption generally appeared slow. So since 2020, early 2020, Ravi, what has actually changed in the blockchain space?
So, I'll answer this question based on my experience with some of the customers. So especially 3 customers, enterprise customers from US, one in the healthcare space, one in the insurance space, and one in the telecom space. Now, you're right. Post-COVID, organizations have started realizing that they cannot, have digital transformation on the backseat. It has to come forward. They have to plan it and actually implement it, because this kind of black swan events may recur in one form or the other, and people want to be prepared for that. But at the same time, based on my experience with these 3 customers, and these are fairly new customers, we have just closed on the requirement understanding and so on and so forth. And their agenda of getting into blockchain, and that to a production level blockchain from day one, the reason has been that since we are getting into digital transformation, launching a new product. So I'll talk about the insurance. So they're launching a new product, and since we are launching a new product, why not use all the emerging technologies which are there, whether it be AI, machine learning, or blockchain, because it makes sense. You build a stack today. If you're building something new and you use an old stack, and then you think that after 2 years you need to revamp it again, it doesn't make any sense. Most of these large organizations, they plan for 5 years, or something like that. So that is the reason I'm seeing that along with digital transformation drive, it's driving the blockchain adoption as well. And the second, I think, interesting thing that has happened in the blockchain world is that first time, these 2 worlds have got something which is, bringing them together. So primarily, if you see, there's a public blockchain world where you have cryptocurrencies as the major use case, and then there are various other public use cases, very well established, especially on the DeFi, decentralized finance side. But none of those use cases, or majority of those use cases, do not find themselves in the enterprise space. In the enterprise space, where there's a challenge of privacy, confidentiality, security, compliances. Of course, the kind of use cases like remittances is one common, but otherwise supply chain or digital record management, etc. They are primarily enterprise-based use cases. But now, if you see, our tokenization of assets is one which has picked up very well in last couple of years. And both fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens, they have picked up very well. And that is where the blockchain world, the public protocol space, and the real world are coming together, because it's in the fungible tokens, it's the real world assets that are being tokenized, whether it be real estate or physical art or carbon credits and whatnot. So that's why I see that these 2 events, I think, has contributed a lot to the adoption of blockchain in enterprises?
No, I think so. I think going forward, I think we're going to see some dramatic growth in this space. But I
Right.
just want to pause for a moment and rewind to when you started as a blockchain entrepreneur 3 years ago, and then Zeeb as a company is 2.5 years as well. And you practically had zero revenue for about 2 years in Zeeb, right,
Right.
Ravi?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so that must have been a very difficult period. So I'm sort of very interested to know what really went through your mind in this period of really struggling with customers and revenue, and how did you actually keep your belief going in Zeev through these tough times? And I think there is a lesson probably for a lot of SaaS founders in what you have to say.
Yeah, so one, I think, see, as I mentioned, the adoption was in any case slow, right? The adoption of blockchain applications was slow. So anything which support the blockchain applications, like the whole infrastructure automation, that was bound to be slow. And we knew this when we started. We knew this, that it's going to be it's going to take time, because still people are doing POCs and pilots, and there are hardly any production deployments. And this kind of platform, would be difficult to monetize at this point of time. But at the same time, when we conceptualized Eve and started implementing it, we first tried out with our own existing customers, and the response was very overwhelming. It was very encouraging. So that validated the concept, and we were very clear that yes, this is going to work, and this is going to be there. It will be very, very much in demand. But yeah, since the adoption was slow, it was very difficult to monetize it. So I built a core team, a separate core team for Zeev. So that's how I put it. So I hired Ghan, and Ghan joined Zeev as a co-founder, CTO. So the idea was to build a team within the team, which is purely focused on this, and they knew what they are getting into, right? Because I alone or Ghan alone, or we together alone would not be able to do it. We require the support of the whole team. And I think that gave us the confidence, because we were very clear about the product. We were very confident about the product because it was a clear validation from all the customers that we worked with. And at the same time, we started onboarding developers. And today we have more than 4,000 developers. They also started validating. They were using the platform for free. But at least we started getting number of nodes, starting with 100 nodes, 200 nodes, 2,000 plus nodes. So that also gave us a validation that there's a clear need for this kind of platform. It's going to work. It's only a matter of time that we start monetizing it. And then second, support from the team was excellent during this time. So
So Ravi, that's a great point where you actually use this time for validating the concept, and that is something extremely important when you're building something new and something which is an innovation. Number one. And secondly, really building the foundation, and you got a lot of developers to start using the platform, and they would start becoming your ambassadors in the future once they get used to the all the functionality and the capabilities and the ease that you actually bring to them. So that's really great. So I just wanted to touch upon another area, which is around people. So hiring good talent and retaining them is perhaps one of the toughest things in the technology space, and perhaps even more in the blockchain space, and even more in the startup space, right?
Right.
And on top of that, when you're going through a tough period, right? So what challenges did you actually face as far as the team was concerned during these difficult times?
Yeah, so I think the first and foremost challenge is, of course, building the team itself. One, because I think we had very high standards as far as who will be part of the Zeev team. And so today also, even, we are actively hiring. We are very aggressively hiring for the last few months. And the conversion is almost like, 1 out of 100. So 100 people we interview, we hardly hire 1 or 2. So so that was one challenge by building the team. The expectations of the leadership team was very high. And then, as when the company is not making revenues, the adoption is not happening, especially with large names. It's always help when you have a large customer. It motivates the whole team when you don't have such. But yes, we had one. We had one very large customer who wanted to be part of Zeev and sign a very big contract. It's one of the largest engineering firm, but that deal didn't go through. But some of these events kept on happening. There were some interest or the other from some enterprises that we were working with. So that kept on motivating people that yes, we are on the right track. And then of course, I think the team is excellent. The team that we have is not just talented and intelligent, but they are very committed, and they feel they are very passionate about Z. And that's, I think, is one of the major factor that helped me go through this time, or helped us go through this whole time.
Yeah. Okay. Then, of course, Ravi, I must say that something very dramatic happened, right? About 2 months ago, right? And I remember in my conversation with you, you mentioned that in the last 2 months, you are clocking about $100,000 in revenue per month. This is, of course, the SaaS part and, of course, the services part as well. But to have that sudden jump in revenue, to $100,000 per month is something truly remarkable. And I believe you have a fantastic pipeline of confirmed orders as well,
right?
Which is closed deals, which is excellent. So how did this? I know you spoke about a number of events that are happening and areas that are taking off and so on, but I think it would be very interesting to know this significant shift. You waited patiently for 2 years, right? You did all the hard work. You validated your concept. You built the foundation, got a lot of developers to use it, and then things have just started happening. So how did this significant shift happen?
Yeah, so the way I think Louis Pasteur said, chance favors the trained mind. So that's what happened. When the opportunity came in, we were prepared to capture it. I think one of the major events that happened in December, late December and early January, we got two big customers. One of them Fortune 100 customer and one of Fortune 500 customer. I think that changed a lot because that created a lot of credibility and helped us to get mid-sized enterprises easily. So that is one happened. And second, I think whatever work we did in earlier in the blockchain space, especially consulting, a lot of them came back. Either with new requirements or just for infrastructure automation side. So what we did was we started connecting with all the people that we had touched base in the last 3 to 4 years. All the conversations that we had, and I'll tell you, we had lots and lots of conversations. I was literally, 6 months I was traveling, and I had lots of conversations with pretty much everyone in whatever geography area we were operating. So they started coming back. So a lot of our old acquaintances and connects, they started coming back. And as I mentioned, some of the events like tokenization, etc., helped us a lot. And with Bitcoin, soaring high, that also helped a lot, because when that happens, there are a lot of new startups that come in who want to build something in the blockchain space. So that also helps a lot, because the best part is that we are catering not just to the enterprise domain. Enterprise is our main forte and main focus area. But at the same time, the same infrastructure, when tuned down, can be used for public infrastructure also. Public infrastructure management is pretty much easier than the enterprise architecture or the infrastructure management. So we started getting a lot of customers from the public space also, and from the enterprise space. And yeah, so things have started picking up, and the revenue also increased.
No, absolutely. And the lesson here is that we should continue having conversations, even in difficult times. Keep those relationships warm. Do good work for them, because, when at some stage they will remember you. And I think that is really what a good SaaS founder will do while traversing, real difficult times. So Ravi, I just want to take a quick pause here and ask our viewers a question. And it would be great for our viewers to sort of answer in the comments or in the chat section. And the question is, tell us how you were able to show resilience in your journey as a SaaS founder or working for a SaaS startup, right? Tell us how you were able to show resilience in your journey as a SaaS founder or working at a SaaS startup. So moving on, Ravi, I know in the beginning of the year, you had projected, an annual revenue of $1.5 million. That was right in the beginning. And 4 months into this financial year, you're already looking at doubling that revenue to 3 million this year, right? And God knows, what can happen in the subsequent years. It could be a significant growth that we can see. So, Ravi, where does that confidence in less than 4 months of doing this projection, you are now already projecting a doubling of your revenue? Where does that confidence come from?
Okay, so one, I think there's a very strong pipeline. So one, the orders that we have booked, we have already we have closed almost $1 million worth of orders, and we have another pipeline of 1.4 million, and we are just ending today, fifth month. Still 7 months are left. And second, I think we see a tremendous growth, both new customers as well as existing customers. So the way our model works is that when a customer comes in, the initial revenue size is very small. So customer wants to set up a network of 5 to 10 nodes. So that's how the relationship starts. So the kind of revenue that we contract at that point of time, it's the minimum revenue, right? Now, as the customer becomes successful, the number of nodes grow from 10 to 15 to 20, 30, and 40. And that is where, it's hardly any effort on our end, right? It's the customer effort which is increasing the revenue on our end, right? We just need to keep the customer satisfied, happy, and he should experience the best when working with us. That is what we just want to ensure. So one, and I'm very much sure that some of our customers have got huge plans and they're moving very aggressively. Some of those relationships will grow to immense numbers. They have started with 10, 15 nodes. I'm sure by the end of this year, they'll go to 100 plus nodes. So one, that is a significant jump in the revenue. And the second, the new customer interest that we are getting based on the existing case studies and customer stories. And of course, we are now aggressively marketing also. As part of our journey, we joined Expert Dojo as a US accelerator. We have set up an office in US, and now we are very aggressively hiring there, especially to sales team to start with. So that again, so we are investing a lot in sales and marketing, and want to relive the same stories that we have now with the existing large customers, to replicate the same story in US, and being physically present. I think it changes a lot. So that's why we are very confident.
Yeah, great, Ravi. So there's a great lesson here for SaaS founders. Keep focused, on your product proposition, and keep adding value constantly. Because if you're working in the enterprise space, there is a strong possibility that your customers will grow your revenue, and therefore keeping them satisfied and delighted is extremely important. In fact, I did a session on net revenue retention, which was actually all about it, because you have to make your existing customers, grow with you and give you recurring business over the next couple of years. Yeah, and then you did mention, Ravi, about getting into the accelerator, and that brings me really to the next topic that I wanted to talk about, which is very close to my heart as well, which is building a business in India versus building a business in the US. And that's a conundrum faced by a lot of SaaS founders who start in India. So Ravi, what prompted this leap of faith to be US first, even while you are at an early stage?
So one of the reasons is that US is the biggest market for blockchain. I think India is picking up very fast, no doubt about that. But still, US is very mature market in terms of blockchain. So we saw a lot of production systems or implementations happening starting 2017-18. And so that was the primary reason why we wanted to set up a physical presence there. One, for any however automated or low code platform you can build, but still customer connect and working closely with the customer, especially the large customers, you may require some legacy integration, some kind of implementation or consulting that is involved. So we wanted to be present in US, and that's the reason it was clear that is where we should be. And of course, India, Middle East, Southeast Asia are definitely good markets for us, and we have been working there either through partners or directly. But yes, US being the largest market, that has been our focus area. And as I mentioned, the confidence or the determination comes from the fact that one, we have validated the product well, so we know that, and Just imagine sitting here, getting a UK customer signed up, enterprise customer, a Fortune 500 customer signed up in 3 days, just by giving a product demo. Shows that it's the power of the product that is bringing that customer. Enterprise deals
Yeah.
may take 3 months or 6 months to close, but I think it's surprising that it can be closed in 3 days. So that's all about the power of the product. So we think that being in US, we would be able to connect with the customers better and have a better outreach or market reach, and we don't want to lose that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ravi, this is, as I mentioned, this is a topic close to my heart. And, I've always believed that if you're in the B2B SaaS space and you have a product which has potentially global appeal, which means that you're not restricted due to regulatory restrictions to only, let's say, the Indian market, then perhaps the Indian market is good for you to, build your concept, test the waters, acquire some initial customers, get some product maturity going. But then you have to think big, and you have to think about, can I now move into the US market? Because clearly the Indian market is not as large. I mean, we have lots of enterprises, but it's not as large as the US, number one. Number two, the margins are always challenged in India, and there's a lot of price sensitivity and so on. So if you have an innovation, my 2 cents to any SaaS founder is that think big and think about what is the earliest you can, take that leap of faith and move into the US market. So Ravi, obviously you're showing a lot. You're on the success trajectory right now, and that would obviously attract the attention of the big boys as well. Like, so if I look at companies like Amazon and Azure, they're already competing in some parts of your business, right? So does the fact that they could perhaps rapidly expand their offerings, and become a potential threat to you, does that give you sleepless nights? And also, how has that challenged you?
Okay, so I would say that yes, it gives me sleepless nights, but not the fact that we see them as competitors, because the way AWS or Azure of the world are organized or structured today, primarily does not work in the decentralized world. In the decentralized world, like for example, Zeev is a completely cloud agnostic low-code platform. By cloud agnostic, I mean we support all the major cloud providers, whether it be AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, DigitalOcean, Oracle, and on-premise, and then we are adding more and more cloud players to support. Because in the decentralized world, what happens is that everybody who hosts a node has complete independence to host it anywhere, whether on-premise, whether on any cloud. So by going to one player, just one provider, defeats the whole purpose of decentralization. Because if all the nodes are being hosted in a centralized or one single entity, then it's not a true decentralization. And that's, I think, is one of the facts. And the second is, I think in the enterprise space, the kind of configurations that are required, it's not something anybody has invested in right now. So AWS and Azure both launched their blockchain as a service platform, but those are just simple node deployment, and it's a minuscule part of our platform. And recently, to quote Hacker News, there was a news that Azure, in fact, is shutting down the blockchain as a service business, and primarily for the reason that people are moving to alternate providers like us, and it was not very clear as to what could be the reasons, but I think the reason pretty much would be same, that people would prefer more decentralized players. Like we are protocol agnostic, we are cloud agnostic, and there's no lock-in. The only lock-in is the product quality and the satisfaction, right?
Yeah, correct. And I was reading a story recently which said that an incumbent advantage, which is referring to the large players, can also be an incumbent disadvantage, because they really are not really nimble-footed to offer the entire bouquet of services that you possibly could, because they have so many other things to actually take care of.
Right.
So Ravi, there are red oceans and there are blue oceans, right?
Yep.
And you are possibly in your blue ocean today, right? Because you have an innovation and the market is large, it's growing, it's, you're sort of hitting the wave right now, and you're already projecting doubling of your revenues and so on. But as you grow and as you gain a lot of traction and as people start seeing the market opening up, there's going to be a lot of competition coming in, right?
Right.
Perhaps would be a lot of startups who will come in this space, and a lot of investors will drive those opportunities as well. So how will you keep innovating to remain relevant and, importantly, stay ahead of the game and create your own blue ocean?
No, absolutely. I think that's a very valid point, Thomas, and I think it's applicable for any SaaS company or any SaaS idea, right? As soon as the product picks up pace and there's a growth in the market, a lot of other people are getting into it. But yeah, what we did 1.5 years back or 2 years back, that is what people are getting into it. So one, we are not being complacent anywhere, whether it be protocol partnerships, so onboarding new protocols, or adding more configurations and analytics and monitoring. So we listen to our customers very, very carefully, and on top of it, we want to give something that they haven't even imagined that this can be there as part of the product. So one is keep improving and enhancing the existing product, and the second is we have built a very sophisticated layer of services, and we are identifying services and taking them out in the market in a very agile way. Like every 30 days, 45 days, we launch a new service, and those new services again help us keep our moat in the market. Continue to reinvent yourself and keep on building things that more and more people will require. So it helps us cater to a larger customer base and at the same time retain the existing customers. So the idea is to keep building on top of the platform. One, existing platform, doing enhancements and improvements there, and the second is building new services on top of it, so that we can continue to remain ahead of the game. And we have been we have actually made it possible till now, and will continue to do so.
Yeah, and finally, Ravi, speed is the key in this business, right? And we know of several B2B SaaS startups who have gotten off to a great start, have raised a few rounds of capital, but then have struggled to make a definitive mark. So what are the risks for Zeev? And what will it take for Zeev to actually go to the next level?
Yeah, so I think it's a right combination of having the capital at the right time, penetration in the market at the right time, having a amazing team at the same time, and continue to innovate into the product at the same time. So I think it's basically all things coming together, balancing out the act, and that's one of the role of leadership team, and me, Sankalp. That's what we primarily focus on, how to match each and everything, balance out. Like the whole decision of US has been a very tough decision. It's very difficult sitting here, setting up a base in US. It's actually a very difficult proposition. But the whole idea is that we have to do that because that's where there's a market, and we have to be where there's a market. And second, we are very aggressive, very, very aggressive. In fact, Brian from Expert Dojo always says that you guys are mad, right? So and that is what you have to be, because complacency has no place for a startup. We are not established players, so of course we have to be agile, at the same time very, very aggressive. So that's how I see that speed is absolutely important, and whether it be building out new things, whether it be reaching out to new customers, whether it be giving demos, whether it be hiring new people, everywhere we are very aggressive, and that's how I see that be able to manage it.
Yeah, and it was also very refreshing. I've been hearing a lot of announcements about several partnerships that you have signed in the US and elsewhere, which has really helped build your own credibility, build your own brand, and also accelerate your own go-to-market. So great stuff, Ravi. Thank you so much, Ravi. And those were some great lessons that we had around building resilience, when you get onto your SaaS journey. And I know you have something very special going on with Zeev, and and I think we will keep our ears close to the ground, because I'm sure there's going to be some exciting news in the not so distant future. So thank you, Ravi, for your time.
Yeah. Thanks, Thomas, for having me here. And thanks everyone for.
Yeah, and let me pose that question again, which we had spoken before, to our viewers, and it will be great if you can answer in the comments section or in the chat section. Tell us how you were able to show resilience in your journey as a SaaS founder or working for a SaaS startup. So friends, thank you so much for your time. In our follow-up live session on building resilience in your SaaS startups, we will have more SaaS founders and more perspectives. Until then, please stay tuned to my YouTube channel, Musings with Thomas Abraham. And also watch out for live discussions every Monday on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, and Twitter on trending topics around SaaS, sales, and HR tech. It's goodbye for now. Stay safe and stay well.